Welcome back to the Nathan Joseph podcast. This episode is going to be short, sharp, and also it's going to be about something that I've recently given up. I say recently, no I haven't. I've given it up for the last maybe 3 years, and honestly, the change in my life, it feels like I'm on a completely new trajectory. And I'll give you a few examples, but basically I had a conversation with a family member who I don't really get on with last week or the week before, and during this conversation, this family member I felt was playing the victim and taking absolutely no responsibility for their actions. Instead, what they was doing was making excuses for their actions. This is the way that I am. And for me personally, you are going to be such a happier person when you stop making excuses. And I'm talking directly to you right now, because I'm not saying that you're somebody that has an excuse for everything. But for me, I'd rather not make an excuse. And in any single situation in my life, I'd rather take responsibility, not for shit that I haven't done, but any of my actions that could have been better. Because when I'm in that headspace where, okay, I'm not going to excuse my behaviour, what I'm going to do is understand it, understand why I've acted that way, understand how I could have acted better. And rather than make excuses which ultimately are validating the behaviour, when you make an excuse, it is almost you turning around and saying, I should do that, but I'm not going to because of this. And that is just a loop that you're going to play to yourself over and over again. A really good example is somebody that's looking to lose a shit ton of weight, but they just say an excuse like, I haven't got time. And these are the losers that spend 20 minutes scrolling on TikTok whilst they're having a shit, or they're taking half hour to choose something to watch on Netflix, and they're not taking themselves to the gym. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely times when I'm in those situations, but I can guarantee you, I'm not saying that I ain't got time when I'm spending over 50 minutes scrolling through either TikTok, Instagram, or Netflix a day. That's a workout easily. So your excuses they're almost a story that you tell yourself to just keep yourself in your comfort zone. And if that makes you happy, if you want to feel sorry for yourself, if you want to act and succumb to that inner bitch that doesn't want you to progress, that knows exactly how you feel by making the excuse but allows you to do it, then that is totally up to you. But trust me, the change in my life over the last 3 or 4 years, when I just thought, you know what, rather than make excuses, I'm going to just take responsibility for my part to play in this. You're going to be happier tenfold. And a big reason for that, what I believe, is you take the control back. And I'm not saying that I'm a control freak, but if you don't make excuses and you take responsibility, it's almost like you take control, because then you can act according to what you actually need to do. Whereas when you're constantly making excuses, it's someone else's fault. It's that the reason that didn't happen is because of X, Y, and Z. No, it's because of you. And if you're going to pass it off onto somebody else, you're never going to get to the crux as why something will not work for you. And when that happens, then you're just always going to make an excuse for that behaviour or for the outcomes that you are getting. It's one of the hardest and most difficult things, I believe, to look inside you and really see where your faults lie. And we all have them. But it is also the easiest way to grow, because you're taking such responsibility for the person that you are. And when you do that, no one can hurt you. Like I say, I had this difficult conversation with a family member. Everything that they said to me, I was like, cool, that's absolutely fine. and I'll take that away and improve in areas that I actually think I can. Whereas before I'd have been like, well, I don't do that because of X, Y, and Z. But what do I gain out of that? Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that I want to have a relationship with this family member anymore, not at all. But what I will say is there's things that can be learned from every outcome. And if you hear yourself making excuses for something, just go deeper on it and understand why you're making an excuse. Because, like I say, with the time analogy for the gym, it's just a bullshit story that you keep telling yourself to keep you in your comfort zone. So stop making excuses, start taking responsibility, whether that's for where you are or relationships that you're in, so on and so forth. And you're honestly going to become so much happier, because that's exactly what I've experienced over the last 2 to 4 years. The more responsibility that I take of my actions, the happier I've become. Because ultimately I know that everything, absolutely everything, falls on my head. Because this is my life. So why am I going to make excuses and say that someone else affected my life, or I did that because of X, Y, and Z? No, I'm in control. I don't make excuses. I take responsibility. You're welcome. 6 minutes. Done.